The rusty Dodge looked like it belonged in a graveyard. Its faded paint had peeled away under years of sun and rain. The tires were cracked. The windshield carried a spiderweb of fractures across one corner. The engine barely coughed to life anymore. To everyone who passed by, it was just another forgotten relic waiting for the scrapyard. But on the morning they came to haul it away, a single father stood in front of that old truck with tears in his eyes. Because sometimes the world sees junk where memories live. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that every person, and every forgotten thing, deserves to be valued, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to life. The truck belonged to a man named Ethan Walker. Life had not been kind to Ethan. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Sarah, after a sudden illness that no one saw coming. One day she was laughing with their young daughter Emma in the backyard, and a few months later she was gone. The loss shattered their small family. Ethan suddenly found himself raising 8-year-old Emma alone while struggling to pay bills, work overtime, and somehow remain strong enough to be both mother and father. Every morning started before sunrise. He packed lunches, braided Emma's hair the best he could, dropped her at school, worked long construction shifts, picked her up afterward, helped with homework, made dinner, and collapsed into bed exhausted. Money was always short. The medical bills from Sarah's illness had swallowed their savings. Creditors called regularly. Some months Ethan skipped meals so Emma would never have to. Through all those difficult years, one thing stayed with him. The old Dodge. The truck had belonged to his late father. Ethan remembered sitting beside him as a child, watching those rough hands grip the steering wheel. He remembered fishing trips at dawn, dusty summer roads, and long conversations that seemed ordinary at the time but became priceless after his father passed away. When Ethan's father died, the Dodge became more than a vehicle. It became a connection. A piece of family history. A reminder that no matter how hard life became, he came from people who never quit. But memories don't pay bills. As the years passed, the truck deteriorated. Repairs became too expensive. Rust spread across the frame. The engine developed serious problems. Eventually the Dodge sat unused beside Ethan's modest home. Neighbors complained. The homeowners association sent notices. The city issued warnings. The truck had become an eyesore. At least that's what everyone said. Ethan ignored the letters as long as he could. But eventually the final notice arrived. The vehicle had to be removed. Either he paid to restore it, move it, or scrap it. There were no other options. The decision haunted him for weeks. At night he sat on the porch staring at the truck. Emma often sat beside him. The old Dodge reminded her of stories about a grandfather she never got the chance to meet. It reminded her of family photographs. It reminded her of happier times when her mother was still alive. One evening Ethan found Emma sitting inside the truck's cab. She was tracing her fingers across the cracked dashboard. The sight nearly broke him. He realized the truck wasn't just carrying his memories anymore. It was carrying hers too. Still, reality was cruel. The repair estimate was far beyond anything he could afford. Thousands of dollars. Money he simply didn't have. When the tow company finally arrived weeks later, Ethan felt like he was losing another member of the family. The driver inspected the vehicle and shook his head. The truck looked destined for scrap. Its value appeared almost non-existent. Ethan signed the paperwork with trembling hands. The old Dodge was loaded onto a flatbed. Emma stood beside him, silently wiping tears from her cheeks. As the truck disappeared down the road, Ethan felt something inside him leave with it. He told himself it was only metal. But grief rarely listens to logic. The Dodge was taken to a large salvage yard on the outskirts of town. Hundreds of damaged vehicles sat in rows. Some had been wrecked. Some abandoned. Others simply forgotten. The Dodge joined them. Its fate seemed sealed. A few days later, workers prepared to process the truck. Parts would be removed. The remaining metal would be crushed and recycled. Just another routine day. Just another worthless vehicle. Then something unexpected happened. A collector named Marcus Bennett happened to visit the yard. Marcus had spent decades searching for rare American vehicles. He possessed an unusual talent. While others saw rust, Marcus saw history. While others saw junk, Marcus saw hidden stories. That afternoon he wandered through the salvage yard looking for spare parts for another restoration project. Nothing particularly caught his attention. Then he noticed the Dodge. Something about it seemed familiar. The body style. The year. The specific trim details. He walked closer. Most people would have dismissed it immediately. Marcus didn't. Years of experience told him there was something unusual here. He examined the truck carefully. The rust couldn't hide certain factory characteristics. The more he looked, the more curious he became. Then he discovered something astonishing. Hidden beneath years of dirt and corrosion was a factory stamp. A very rare factory stamp. Marcus froze. His heart began racing. Because that stamp indicated something extraordinary. The Dodge wasn't an ordinary production vehicle. It was one of a very limited number built during a special manufacturing run decades earlier. Most experts believed many of them no longer existed. Finding one intact was incredibly rare. Finding one with matching factory identifiers was almost unheard of. Marcus immediately requested documentation. The salvage yard employees thought he was joking. Why would anyone care about this rusty truck? But Marcus insisted. Hours later, after verifying serial numbers and factory records, he confirmed his suspicion. The truck was authentic. And its value was staggering. The same vehicle that had been considered scrap was suddenly worth more than Ethan earned in several years. Marcus knew he had to find the owner. The paperwork led him directly to Ethan. A few days later, Ethan received an unexpected phone call. At first he assumed it was another bill collector. Instead, he heard something he never imagined. The caller explained that his father's Dodge might be extraordinarily valuable. Ethan thought it was a scam. Life had disappointed him too many times to believe in miracles. But Marcus persisted. Eventually they met. Marcus showed him records. Photographs. Authentication documents. Factory production details. The evidence was undeniable. The old Dodge wasn't junk. It was a collector's treasure. Ethan sat speechless. For years people had mocked the truck. Neighbors complained about it. Officials wanted it removed. Even salvage workers viewed it as scrap. Yet somehow the truck carried a hidden value no one had recognized. The realization felt strangely personal. Because Ethan understood exactly how that felt. After losing Sarah, he often felt invisible. People saw a struggling single father. An exhausted worker. A man barely keeping his life together. Few people saw the strength required to continue moving forward every day. Few people saw the sacrifices he made for Emma. Few people understood the battles he fought silently. Like the Dodge, he had been underestimated. Marcus offered to purchase the truck. The amount nearly knocked Ethan off his chair. It was enough to eliminate debt. Enough to secure Emma's future. Enough to finally breathe again. But the decision wasn't simple. Selling the Dodge felt like selling a piece of his father. A piece of family history. For several days Ethan wrestled with the choice. He visited old photo albums. He remembered childhood memories. He thought about Sarah. He thought about Emma. Then he realized something important. His father had never loved the truck because it was valuable. He loved it because it served the people he cared about. Its true purpose was helping family. And now, one final time, it could do exactly that. Ethan accepted the offer. The sale changed everything. Debt disappeared. The house was secured. Emma's education fund was established. For the first time in years, the future felt hopeful. But the story didn't end there. Marcus understood the truck's emotional significance. Months later, after completing a stunning restoration, he invited Ethan and Emma to see it. When they arrived, neither could speak. The Dodge looked exactly as it had decades earlier. The paint gleamed. The chrome sparkled. The engine purred with life. It was beautiful. More importantly, it felt alive again. Marcus handed Ethan a framed photograph. It showed the restored truck beside an old image of Ethan's father standing proudly next to it years earlier. Ethan broke down in tears. Not because of the money. Not because of the truck itself. But because something he thought was lost forever had been honored rather than forgotten. The past hadn't disappeared. It had been preserved. And somehow, through all the hardship, it had helped create a better future. Years later, Emma would often tell people about the old Dodge. She would describe how everyone thought it was worthless. How they nearly crushed it. How one person looked closer and discovered its true value. And every time she told the story, she shared the lesson her father taught her. People are often the same way. Some carry scars. Some are worn down by life. Some appear broken on the outside. But hidden beneath those struggles may be extraordinary value waiting to be recognized. Before we reach the end of this story, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment with the words, "Everyone has hidden value," if you believe people deserve to be judged by their hearts and not their circumstances. The old Dodge became famous among collectors. But its greatest legacy wasn't its rarity. It wasn't the factory stamp. It wasn't even the money it brought. Its greatest legacy was the reminder that worth isn't always visible at first glance. Sometimes the most valuable things are the ones the world almost throws away. And sometimes all it takes is one person willing to look closer. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you of someone you've loved and lost, please take a moment to like the video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep these meaningful stories alive and allows more people to discover messages of hope, perseverance, and second chances. As the sun set on another ordinary evening, Ethan and Emma stood together looking at a photograph of the restored Dodge hanging in their living room. The truck was gone, but its spirit remained. It had carried 3 generations through life's journey, and in the end, it delivered one final gift, a future filled with hope. And perhaps that's the most beautiful truth of all. The things we cherish are never truly measured by their appearance. Their value comes from the love, memories, and lives they touch. And sometimes, when everything seems lost, life reveals a hidden stamp of worth that changes everything.